The Jothic delegation had arrived on Earth with all the pomp and ceremony befitting a species that had conquered 17 star systems. Their ships gleamed like obsidian crescents against Earth's blue sky, and their warriors, massive, scaled beings with wings that could blot out the sun, landed in Geneva with the kind of confidence that came from never having lost a war. Commander Vexthor was among them, a decorated officer whose crimson scales bore the scars of 100 battles. He stood nearly 12 feet tall, his leathery wings folded against his back, his golden eyes scanning the primitive human structures with barely concealed disdain. The humans had invited the Jothic to discuss cultural exchange, but Vexthor knew what this really was, a prelude to inevitable subjugation. The humans were weak. Their technology was laughable. Their bodies were soft, fragile things that would snap like twigs under Jothic claws. Vexthor had studied the reports. Humanity had barely left their own solar system. They were children playing with fire. The diplomatic reception was held in a sprawling facility on the outskirts of the city. Human delegates smiled nervously, offering refreshments that the Jothic politely refused. Vexthor's translator implant worked flawlessly, converting the babbling human languages into something comprehensible. But their words were as weak as their bodies, empty pleasantries, meaningless gestures. Then Vexthor felt it, a sharp stabbing pain in his lower jaw that made him wince. The ancient battle wound in his tooth, a crack from a Krill warlord's blade 5 cycles ago, had been bothering him for weeks. The Jothic medics had told him it was inoperable without removing the entire fang, something he'd refused out of pride. He pressed a clawed hand to his jaw, trying to maintain his composure, but the pain was becoming unbearable. "Are you all right?" The voice was small, tentative. Vexthor looked down to see a human female, barely reaching his chest even when he was slightly hunched, staring up at him with enormous brown eyes behind thick-rimmed glasses. She wore a white coat with a badge that read, Dr. Maya Chen, DDS, and carried a small bag over her shoulder. "I am fine," Vexthor growled, his voice like grinding stones. Maya adjusted her glasses, peering at him with an expression that made him deeply uncomfortable. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even respect. It was curiosity, concern. "No, you're not," she said matter-of-factly. "You keep touching your jaw. Lower left quadrant, if I had to guess. That's a toothache." Vexthor's translator stumbled over the word toothache, as if the concept itself was somehow quaint. "I do not require assistance from a human," he said, turning away. "Aw, you cute alien dragon," Maya said, and Vexthor froze. "Cute, cute?" He was a warrior of the Jothic Empire. "Let me fix your tooth." Before he could respond, she'd opened her bag and pulled out what looked like a scanning device. "I'm a dentist." "Well, I was supposed to be here as a xenobiology consultant. But dentistry is dentistry, right? Open up." Something in her tone, that absolute lack of fear, that genuine desire to help, made Vexthor hesitate. The other delegates were watching now, both human and Jothic. But Maya seemed completely oblivious to the political implications of what she was doing. Against every instinct, against every fiber of his warrior training, Vexthor opened his massive jaws. Maya stood on her tiptoes, shining a small light into his mouth. "Oh, wow," she breathed. "Your dental structure is fascinating. Calcium-based, but with some kind of crystalline lattice I've never seen before. And yes, there it is. That crack is infected. Must hurt like hell." She pulled out more instruments, muttering to herself. "Okay, so standard human anesthetics probably won't work on your biology, but if I can just..." She mixed something in a small vial, her hands moving with practiced precision. "This is a universal nerve blocker I've been developing. Theoretical, but the protein chains should work across most carbon-based life forms." Vexthor felt a tiny prick against his gum, and within seconds, the pain began to fade. "There we go," Maya said, smiling up at him. "Now I'm going to use a bonding agent. Your tooth structure is actually self-healing, did you know that? You Jothic have microcrystalline growth patterns that can regenerate. I just need to remove the infected tissue and give it a boost." For the next 20 minutes, Maya worked with absolute focus. She used tools from her bag, adapted them on the fly, and even fabricated a custom filling using a 3D printer she pulled from her equipment. The other delegates watched in stunned silence as this tiny human fearlessly reached into the mouth of a creature that could bite her in half. When she finally stepped back, Vexthor closed his jaws and felt nothing. No pain, no pressure, Just perfect, complete relief. How? He began. You're all set, Maya said, packing up her tools. Come back in 6 months for a checkup. And maybe floss more? I don't know what you eat, but there's some serious tartar buildup. Then something incredible happened. Vexthor, commander of the 7th Fleet, veteran of countless battles, conqueror of worlds, bent down on one knee before the nerdy human girl. In the ancient tradition of the Jothic, he placed his clawed hand over his heart. You have rendered me a service I could not render myself, he said, his voice thick with emotion. By our law, I am blood bonded to you until this debt is repaid. Maya blinked. You really don't have to. The Jothic do not give such oaths lightly, Vexthor continued. I came here believing humans were weak, prey, but you approached a predator with no fear and no weapon, armed only with knowledge and the desire to heal. This is not weakness, his golden eyes met hers. This is the strongest thing I have ever witnessed. The other Jothic delegates were murmuring among themselves, their translator implants buzzing. The human diplomats looked equally confused. Maya just smiled and pushed her glasses up. Well, that's what we do. We see someone hurting and we fix it. Doesn't matter if they're human or, a cool space dragon. Vexthor stood, spreading his wings in a gesture of respect. I will report to the Empire that humanity is not to be conquered. They are to be allied with. Any species that can turn an enemy into a friend with simple kindness and competence is not one to be underestimated. He looked around at the assembled delegates, both human and alien. We Jothic have conquered through strength. But perhaps there is a different kind of strength we have yet to understand. As the diplomatic proceedings continued with a dramatically different tone, Maya returned to her station, completely unaware that she'd just prevented an interstellar war with nothing more than dental tools and genuine compassion. That was the thing about humans. Vexthor would later write in his report to the Empire. They didn't conquer with weapons or fear. They conquered with the audacity to care, the stubborn refusal to see enemies, and the peculiar tendency to look at the most terrifying creatures in the galaxy and say, "Oh, let me help you." And somehow that made them the most terrifying species of all.